Today, we're diving deep into a feeling I think we've all had, but maybe we didn't have a name for it. It's called Cognitive Load Overdrive. And honestly, understanding this might just change how you handle difficult conversations forever. Let's get right into it.
So let's just start with this, because it gets right to the heart of everything. The most striking truth about cognitive load overdrive is that you aren't losing the argument because your logic is flawed. You are losing because your brain has physically run out of the electricity required to process the truth. You see, we all assume that communication is about sharing information, but in these really intense, high-pressure situations, your own biological need for clarity, for things to just make sense, gets turned into a weapon against you. That avalanche of words, that manufactured complexity, it crashes your system. So why do you find yourself saying fine whatever you want just to make the talking stop? That right there, that's the paradox. It's the exact moment your desire to understand becomes the very thing that makes you surrender.
All right, so here's our game plan for today. First, we're going to tackle that paradox, logic versus electricity. Then, we'll get into the biology, your brain's very real and very limited battery. After that, we'll pull back the curtain on the overdrive playbook, the specific tactics used. We'll expose the psychology behind the clarity trap, which is why we get stuck in these loops. And then, the most important part, we'll talk about reclaiming your executive integrity, and finally, land on a whole new way to think about what truth really means.
Okay, let's start with that feeling. You know the one I'm talking about, right? That deep, draining exhaustion in the middle of a conversation where you just give in. Where trying to understand what the other person is saying starts to feel exactly like surrendering to them. I want to be crystal clear here. This is not a character flaw. This is a system override being launched against your brain.
This question is everything. Have you ever actually said it? That phrase, find whatever you want. That's not just you getting tired of the topic. That is a biological flare, a distress signal from deep inside your brain. It marks the precise moment your mind switches gears, from trying to find the truth to a much more basic goal, just conserve energy and make the pain stop. It's a direct response to a very specific tactic.
And here's what that tactic is. It's called system flooding. Now, this isn't just someone being chatty or thorough. This is when a massive volume of information, and it's usually disorganized, emotionally charged, full of detours, is used to completely overwhelm your brain's ability to process it. It's not communication, it's what you could call neural jamming. The goal isn't to inform you, the goal is to exhaust you. And the weapon they're using is your own good faith desire to make sense of all the chaos.
So let's get into the science of it, because this is where it all clicks into place. It's so important to understand that this feeling of being mentally steamrolled isn't a personal weakness. It is a hardwired biological limit of being human. We aren't computers with infinite processing power. We are biological machines, and we are running on a very real and very limited battery. And this brings us to a real, documented phenomenon, executive exhaustion. Think of your executive functions as the CEO of your brain. This is the part that handles logic, impulse control, thinking ahead. But when it's under prolonged strain, like an argument that goes in circles for 2 hours, it literally runs out of gas. This has been studied in everything from high-stakes hostage negotiations to draining legal battles. It's a real neurological state where your ability to check facts and make good decisions is just dangerously low.
And the signs of this, well, they might be subtle, but I bet you'll recognize them. You've got the clarity hook, that little voice that says, if I just listen 5 more minutes, it'll all finally make sense. Then there's the mental fog, and that's a physical feeling, right? That heavy, drained sense where it's hard to even form a thought. And all of that leads to passive compliance, where you just give up on your own point just to make the marathon end.
This is tied directly to another key concept called ego depletion. The best way to picture this is to think of your willpower as a muscle. Every time you have to self-regulate, stay on topic, or notice when a story doesn't add up, you're using that muscle. Well, the more you use it by fighting off interruptions or trying to follow twisted logic, the more tired that muscle gets. And when it's depleted, you're just not as good at making decisions or spotting red flags. You become way more suggestible, way more compliant.
And this illustrates it perfectly. It's just like your phone. You start the day, you're at 100%. But a long, circular, emotionally draining conversation, that's not just sending a text. That is like running your GPS, streaming a 4K video, and playing a heavy-duty game all at the same time. It's a massive power drain. Eventually, you're going to hit that 1% warning. And at that point, your brain's only goal is to find a charger. And in these situations, the quickest charger is silence. And agreement is presented as the only way to get there.
So, we've got the biology down, we understand our vulnerability. Now, let's peel back the curtain and see exactly how that vulnerability gets exploited. See, this isn't usually just random chaos. A lot of the time, it follows a pretty predictable three-step pattern designed specifically to wear you down. Let's walk through the Overdrive playbook.
The playbook has 3 main stages. It's a 1-2-3 punch. First, they flood you with quantity to overload you. Second, they trap you in confusing, circular logic to burn through your mental energy. And finally, when you're at your absolute weakest, they offer you a simple relief exit to get you to comply. Let's break down each move. Step 1 is quantity flooding. It starts with you. You ask a simple, direct question, something like, "Hey, why didn't you call when you knew you were running late?" But instead of a straight answer, you get a fire hose of information. They bring up a mistake you made 3 years ago, a problem they're having with their boss, the traffic, 10 other unrelated complaints. The goal here is simple, to make you lose the thread. It's a stress test on your brain, really. They're trying to find out how much noise your system can handle before it just starts to short circuit.
So, once you're already disoriented, the game shifts to step 2, the circular trap. This is where they use what we call linguistic loops. You've heard them before. Well, the only reason I did that is because you always. Or, if you hadn't said X, then I wouldn't have been forced to do Y. This creates cognitive dissonance. It makes your brain hurt. Your logical mind goes into overdrive just trying to follow their confusing, contradictory map. And at this point, you're not even fighting for your point anymore. All your energy is just being spent trying to make their story make any sense at all.
And here's the final and most devastating move. After hours of flooding and loops, when you're deep in that mental fog, totally exhausted, they offer you a way out, the relief exit. And it's always a simple, submissive path. Just admit you overreacted, or just agree with me on this one little thing. Your brain, desperate for peace, leaps at it. You agree just to stop the bleeding. And then comes the checkmate. Your compliance is immediately held up as proof that you were finally listening, which validates their entire story and locks you into it.
But why do we stay engaged? I mean, why do we keep trying for so long, even after the conversation has clearly gone off the rails? The answer is in this tragic mismatch of goals, a psychological dynamic we call the clarity trap. This slide lays it out perfectly. Look, on one side, that's you. Your goal is the need for logical resolution. You've been taught your whole life that you should talk things through until they make sense. We value making sense, sometimes more than we value being safe. Now look at their goal. In this dynamic, it's totally different. Frictionless compliance. They don't have to win on logic if they can win by just wearing you down. By owning your mental energy, by making the fight too expensive for you to keep going, they get total leverage. You're trying to solve a puzzle while they are just running down your battery.
So that brings us to the most important part of all this. How do you defend your cognitive space? The goal is not to get better at arguing inside this broken system. The goal is to reclaim your integrity by refusing to play the game at all. And that starts with one thing: awareness.
Here are 2 super simple practical tools. First, start performing a complexity audit in your head. Step back for a second and ask yourself, what's the word count versus the truth value here? Is this person actually being profound, or are they just hiding in a thick fog of words? Second, and this one is a game changer, use temporal distancing. You have every right to hit the pause button. Saying, you know what, I'm not processing this anymore today, we can pick this up in 24 hours, is not surrender. It is a strategic power move that lets you recharge your battery and get your clarity back.
And this right here, this is the mantra that breaks the clarity hook. You should burn this into your brain. You can hold a boundary without needing a 4-hour lecture on why the other person disagrees with it. Your no is a complete sentence. Accepting that you don't have to fully understand their complicated story to stick with your own position, that is a radical act of self-preservation. It lets you get out of the game before you're completely exhausted.
Ultimately, when you understand all of this, it forces you to completely rethink what healthy communication even is. It gives you a new and frankly much safer premise for what truth actually looks and feels like. Maybe the biggest lesson here is actually the simplest. Real truth is usually short, it's clear, it's pretty concise. It doesn't need a mountain of excuses to be valid, and it respects your energy. This reframes everything. Your mind is your own private territory, and you get to control what takes up space in there. You break the cycle the moment you realize that finishing the talk isn't the real goal, protecting your own pieces. And sometimes you need to learn to trust the silence. That's often where your own truth is hiding.
And we're going to end on this.
I want you to let this thought anchor this whole idea for you. If it takes 4 hours of circular logic, manufactured chaos, and emotional exhaustion to explain why you're wrong, the goal isn't communication. They aren't being deep, they're being predatory. They are preying on the biological limits of your brain. And just recognizing that isn't being cynical, it's the first and most powerful step you can take to reclaim your autonomy.